I asked Gus, I was like, well, you had to put up the berm. He said, no, your neighbor did when they had a lawsuit. In other words, he just did that to accommodate the neighbor.
That's what it needs oversight.
That's it. Just oversight and the correct permits. See, there's actually 3 different state facilities that these people are interacting with.
Or should be
Or
interacting.
should, like, in other words, if it's a compost facility, they need records where they're pulling in this stuff in a compost. And then at the same time, if they're mulch, they can do mulch, but then they have to take care of the pile.
Right.
Because the pile will create
the gases.
Compost. In the government, everybody has their little piece. Like I called this lady and she said, I'm water.
Okay. Right.
Well, then she's like concerned about the berm and how the water runs off. Then I said to her, that product that's sitting there is draining. Well, I don't look at the product. So she doesn't consider the runoff of that product that's going to sit there for a year.
That's going to be somebody else.
She's thinking about the berm and the ground. And that product doesn't fall into
her regulations. But
right, but look at that.
Yeah.
It is actual. It's not like the water doesn't run off that.
Mm-hmm.
And what the scary part is, they take this, and then they say it's mulch. Then they bring in compost. Then they mix it. And then they mix it with compost. So they're composting the compost.
Right.
But then the government says, no, they just brought compost in. I was like, no, they're composting the compost. The only law that I have that can protect me is them being a composter within 175 feet of my house, of which I said they have to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never signed such a thing. But the thing is, then it's like, over here they put a whole bunch of chicken stuff. Well, I Google Earthed it, and it was 100 and some feet. It was under 300 feet, and I went to. I had to go all the way to the troopers and say, "This is a law." And then it calmed down,
mm-hmm.
and they took the chicken poop and then they moved it in the back. But then at the same time, if you have a facility that's doing all these things and moving it around, I consider the whole facility to be a compost facility.
Yeah. It kind of doesn't.
You don't know what they're doing on any given day.
Right. Why wouldn't they move the pile over here if it was more convenient?
There's nothing. Then they throw me off the property. I don't know that they're doing it, but I never signed up for it.
Mm.
And the thing is, when they came in, it was just like, oh, well, this is. They're very nice people.
I mean, to be honest with you, it doesn't sound like you want them to shut the place down. You just want them to regulate and...
I want somebody to go in there and say, hey, see, what happens is he gets obnoxious when he stinks the place up to where my home is unlivable. You cannot go in the house. And for someone to have a business and assume that they can make my house unlivable on any given day is wrong. And the thing is, where I went as a neighbor is I texted him. I was like, you tell me when you're doing that so I'm aware. And it's like, I'm getting this.
Yeah.
I'm sure. It's like, well, wait a second. You can't do that. Dude, see, I am a freedom guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very much I'm not fond of government, but there's rules and regulations.
For a reason.
Right. And on the first, see, now this is the thing. You need a DEP permit. The first line on the DEP permit, because I got into all that, is whether or not you're running diesels all day, of which they do.
Because they'll be sitting there waiting.
They just sit there and grind it.
Yeah.
Airborne contaminants. Now, what happens is you get 40-mile-an-hour winds on these piles.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's all over here. It just all over. There's poison gases. Like, if he were to dig that,
It'd
and
really
empty
start
it out.
kicking
It would
up,
release
yeah.
a big
Oh, yeah.
giant ball. And it's against the Air Act. I want to hold the township accountable. And then also, I said to the township guy, "What are they?" He said, "They're a retail operation." I was like, "Okay." So they sell a pile of rocks. They're they're manufacturing mulch. And anyhow, there are permits that these people need.
Right.
So then I got nowhere with the township. I go to the county. I speak with they're not supervisors.
Commissioners.
I speak with the commissioners. The commissioner Quarry says chicken shit is chicken shit. And that's all I got from him. And then there was another fella that gave me this lady, Sherry somebody or another. If we're in there, I can get her name. And she's the county planning lady. And she's like, "Here, I'm going to give you a phone number to call." And I was like, "No, you're going to call these people. And you're going to tell them that I got a problem," of which she did. And then the DEP guys, there's two of them. There's one that watches over the chicken poop down here at the Hillendale chicken houses.
Okay.
And then there's one that watches over the rudders for the diesel fuel.
Okay.
So the chicken guy doesn't want to touch me. He says you call the diesel fuel guy because mulch falls under diesel fuel. The county calls this place a compost facility. And then there's compost law. But when you say compost facility, everybody goes into trash.
Right.
Well, the thing is, there's laws within the trash. And so the township thinks, well, they're not a trash operation. Well, if you go way down through all the paperwork, they are. And then this is my last thing. These people are land clearing people. I want to build a mall. I have 100 acres, knock down the trees. This guy goes and contracts. He knocks down the trees. He picks up the trees and he brings them back here and he either sells them for paper or he makes mulch. Well, and soil, he brings soil in. Okay. They're very charming people. That, technically, is it fire approved? Can the fire department put that fire out of that mulch? The township couldn't tell me. But suppose that mulch goes on fire. Is the fire department capable of doing that shit? And this kid telling me that it's just, I know what poison is.
Yeah.
And you poison me and don't do it again. What do you want? I want somebody to go in there and make sure he doesn't stink. Well, what? If he gets on Penn State, it tells him how not to stink. You build a big vessel, you watch it, you fluff it. Okay. You build a big vessel, you watch it, you fluff it. And guess what? Waldron won't be complaining about your stink. But there's nobody saying, dude, you got to build a big vessel and fluff it. And then you get to the township, and then it's like, they're all poisonous. They're all farmers that shoot all kind of poisons that are killing us in our foods that Kennedy's going to save our ass from, hopefully. But then in Pennsylvania, I got an issue. And then I learned the township has to say. And I was like, what? I go down to the county, I go to the township guy. I get to the state, I get all the way to Mostriato, go to the township guy, and I'm like, what? Your township decides. That is what blows my mind with Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Those farmer clowns. Then you say to yourself, why are they there? It's to watch out for their own stuff.